CommScope's FOSC650 is a domed splice closure for high-count cables with up to 12 cable ports and a total splice capacity of 6,912 fibers. The closure features an advanced design and shape which maximizes space inside the closure and eliminates the need for a separate workstand. The closure is opened and closed through 4 latches on the base, one on each side of the closure. New high-capacity splice trays are designed specifically for the DSC650, and each tray can splice up to 576 fibers. There are 12 cable ports available with port sizes ranging from 0.32 inches to a maximum 1.6 inches in diameter. The gel block design and cable retention system are both craft-friendly and familiar to most technicians. The ground lug field is a centralized location for accessing all cable grounds from within the closure. Ground wires may be common together or isolated individually. The innovative tray tower design pivots inside the closure for optimal cable positioning. There is a wall mounting kit available for mounting the closure to a wall or pole. There is also an aerial mounting kit for strand mounting the closure. To open the closure, find the 4 latches on each side and begin by pulling each latch away from the side of the dome and then fold the latch downward toward the base. After all 4 latches have been released, slide the dome away from the closure and set aside. The tray tower is factory installed in one of 2 orientations depending on part number configuration. The tray tower orientation can be changed to align with the gel block ports being utilized. To change the tray tower orientation, remove 3 bolts holding the tower in place. After all 3 bolts have been removed, move the tower to the desired position and then reinstall each bolt. There are 2 different cable attachments for use with the small gel block ports and 1 cable attachment for use with the large gel block port. Cable attachments may be installed on either side of the tray tower. Attach each assembly to the tray tower using the 2 screws provided. An additional cable attachment may be installed using the additional support bracket. Prepare the cable according to the cable type and application. Refer to the installation instructions for the proper cable cut length. There are 3 sizes of strength member attachment brackets. Refer to the installation instructions to select the correct size. Attach the strength member bracket to the cable and secure the strength member to the bracket with the appropriate size lug. If an alligator clip is used for grounding, make sure that the strength member bracket and grounding attachment are on opposite sides. When a shield is present in the cable, tab the cable approximately 3/4 of an inch or 19 millimeters from the sheath ring cut. Make sure the tab for the grounding attachment and the strength member bracket are on opposite sides of the cable. Attach a supplied bond wire to the tab with the alligator clamp over the sheath and armor. Crimp the alligator clamp onto the sheath and armor with pliers and then tape the bonding wire in place. Once the strength member bracket is in place, slide the gel seal collar over the cable and then insert the cable into the corresponding port on the closure base. Install the cable with the strength member bracket into the cable attachment assembly by pushing the metal tab into the slot on the bottom portion of the cable attachment assembly. Adjust the sheath retention clips until they grip the cable sheath and wrap a hose clamp around the clips, strength member bracket, and cable. Use a 1/4 inch nut driver to tighten the hose clamp in place. Tighten the clamp such that the retention teeth fully seat into the cable assembly. Be careful not to over-tighten the clamp. Reinstall the top cable attachment assembly and secure in place with 2 cable attachment pins. If a ground wire is present, attach the grounding wire to the ground feed-through lug inside the closure. Tighten the nut with a socket wrench to no more than 40 inch-pounds of torque. FOSC D-size trays or FOSC650 trays may be installed into the closure. To install a new tray into the closure, hold the tray vertically over the tray tower and insert the tray hinge into the slot on the tower and then lower the tray. To remove a splice tray, simply raise the tray to a vertical position and then pull the hinge away from the tower, releasing the tray. Each splice tray includes a tray support latch to lock the tray in a raised position. To unlock the tray, hold the tray in position, slide the latch up to release, and then lower the tray. Route subunits through the slack basket around the back of the tray tower and to the splice tray. In case of bare fibers, install a transportation tube over the bare fibers. There is a hinged stabilizer arm that opens to facilitate easier routing around the back side of the tray tower. To open the hinge stabilizer, lift up on the arm, route the fibers around the back of the tray tower, and then close by snapping the arm back into place. At the splice tray, place a mark on the buffer tube or transportation tube 25 millimeters or 1 inch past the edge of the tray. Cut and remove each tube and clean fibers with an approved cleaner. Apply felt tape and secure each tube to the tray with 2 tie wraps. Arrange the fibers within the splice tray per local standard practice. The FOSC DSC650 splice tray has 2 splice zones, an A zone and a B zone. The designated zones are for splicing 2 separate groups of fibers. There are also designations for each side of the tray. The left side is designated by S1 and is typically for the drop fibers. The right side, or S2 side, is typically designated for feeder fibers. Adjust the length of the colored buffer tube going into the B section of the tray to 4 centimeters or 1.6 inches. Store fibers in sections A and B accordingly. To begin the gel block installation, unlock each gel block by releasing the 4 tabs. For the large gel block, place a hole plug into all unused ports. Place the gel block assembly over the cable and position just outside the gel block port, keeping the tail centered. Place the gel block collar bolts into the base mounting holes prior to installing each gel block collar. Leave room for collar eyelets to rotate under the head of each bolt. Slide the gel block collar over the gel block and into position by first making contact with the base and then rotate counterclockwise until eyelets are firmly against the collar bolts. Hand tighten all bolts. If using a torque wrench, do not exceed 25 inch-pounds. All bolts must be seated in the center of their corresponding eyelet. Pull the gel block out from the base and into position. The large gel block is in place when it makes contact with the end of the gel seal collar. The small gel blocks are in place when the gel block makes contact with the end of the collar and a small tab is visible protruding past the outside edge of the collar. Install the external bracket to secure cables entering the larger ports on the large gel block. Attach the cable to the external bracket using the provided hose clamp. Ensure that each hose clamp will not interfere with future cable installations. Next, insert cable port plugs into each empty cable port. Finally, rotate the tail of each gel block clockwise to seal all cables. When the tail reaches a physical stop point, proper sealing is complete. Do not over-tighten or use a drill to turn the tail, as this could cause damage to the gel seal. Make sure that the rubber gasket in the base of the closure is clean and seated in the groove. Slide the dome over the fiber management system and back onto the base. Lift the first latch and place the hook over the rim of the dome. and press the latch toward the side of the base to lock in place. Close the remaining latches in a crosswise manner, first at the front and then the back, then left and finally right. This will ensure an even pressure distribution on the sealing ring. Install a cover on all open or unused gel block ports using the same attachment procedure as the gel block collar. Pressure test the closure with no more than 5 psi. Thoroughly soap all seals and the valve to check for seal integrity. After flash testing, be sure to release all pressure from the closure through the valve. If a shield was present in one of the cables, attach an external ground wire to the ground lug on the outside of the closure per local bonding and grounding practices. If isolated grounding is required, the common ground plate can be removed from the outside of the closure.